You know, it's fascinating how nations try to build a future but often get tangled up with, well, the ghosts of their past.
Hmm.
How do leaders actually guide a country to heal from really deep historical wounds?
That's the core question, isn't it?
Yeah. And today we're diving into a really powerful, quite symbolic moment from Liberia, a nation that's been through so much conflict.
Right.
We're talking about
Welcome to Liberian Chachapoli News, where the streets speak and the people choose. From Painesville lights to the River G blues, we shine the spotlight, no time to snooze. Hey yo, welcome to Chachapoli News. Keeping it real, bringing you the views. Yeah, politics, culture, beats, and the breeze. Grassroots.
service and reburial for former President Samuel K. And also the burial of former First Lady Nancy Bohn.
Yeah, and our mission today is really to unpack the layers of meaning in this ceremony. It was unprecedented for Liberia.
Definitely sounds like it.
Because this wasn't just, a solemn burial. It felt much more like a profound act of national reckoning, a deliberate step towards facing a past that's really haunted Liberia for a long time. And we're drawing our insights from the official statements that came out around this really historic event.
And it sounds like quite an event. It happened in Zwidru City, Grand Gedeh County, right? On June 27th, 2025.
That's correct. Zwidru City.
And led personally by the current president, Joseph Nyuma Boakai Sr.
Yes, his presence was key.
And attended by, well, everyone it seems. High-ranking officials, Doe family members, traditional leaders, and thousands of ordinary citizens.
A very diverse gathering, which speaks volumes in itself, all there for what many see as a really pivotal moment.
Okay, so let's unpack this. President Boakai apparently described this occasion as, well, much more than just a burial. What was his core message here? What was he trying to get across?
Well, what's really insightful is how he consciously framed it. He didn't just let it be a funeral. He explicitly called it a powerful national moment of reflection, healing, and reconciliation.
Reconciliation, that's a heavy word, especially in Liberia's context.
Exactly. For a nation scarred by, a brutal civil war that really stemmed directly from the Doe era itself, this isn't just talk. It's a direct challenge, almost, to the divisions that still run deep.
And he used a metaphor, didn't he? Something about foundations.
Yes, that was very striking. He said, "We cannot build a prosperous Liberia on broken foundations."
What does that really imply for Liberia's path forward, you think?
Well, that phrase, it hits hard because it acknowledges a pretty fundamental truth.
Yeah.
You can't genuinely move forward if you haven't dealt with your past.
Right. You can't just paper over the cracks.
Precisely. Boakai stressed that Liberia's future success depends entirely on unity, on confronting the past through truth, forgiveness, and a shared commitment to progress.
So it's not just symbolic, it's practical.
It suggests that for Liberia, healing isn't just a spiritual or emotional thing. It's a practical necessity for national stability, for development. It's like laying a new groundwork for the nation.
That idea of solid foundations really underscores the national importance. And, what makes President Boakai's message maybe resonate even more is his own personal history with Doe.
Ah, yes, that's a crucial layer here.
How does that personal connection change this? Does it make it more than just a state event?
Oh, absolutely. It adds this undeniable layer of, authenticity. President Boakai didn't just inherit this moment politically. He lived through that era.
Right. He wasn't an outsider to it.
Not at all. He actually served under President Doe in pretty significant roles. First, as managing director of the Liberia Produce and Marketing Corporation, and then later as Minister of Agriculture.
So this isn't abstract politics for him.
No, it's a direct engagement with his own past and the nation's past intertwined.
So he's speaking from direct experience then, from knowing the man to some extent.
Exactly. And he offered his own, personal reflections on Doe's character. He described him as determined, sometimes misunderstood, but, and this is key, always committed to improving the lives of the Liberian people.
That's quite a statement, considering the history.
It is. And that perspective, coming from someone who is in Doe's government, it lends real weight to his call for national healing now. It shows a leader who isn't just, directing reconciliation from afar.
He's participating in it.
He's actively participating, bridging divides from his own unique position. It makes the message incredibly powerful, especially for Liberians who remember that period.
Okay, so the reburial itself is being presented as much more than just a funeral ceremony. What are the sort of deeper ripples this sends out through Liberian society beyond the actual event?
Well, President Boakai himself emphasized it was more than a symbolic gesture. It was a defining step in the nation's collective effort to heal from years of conflict and build a peaceful and inclusive future.
A defining step. That's strong language.
It is. And the real nugget here, I think, is understanding the sheer political will it took to do this.
Yeah.
You have to remember the deep, unhealed wounds still present in Liberia from the Civil War, a war that saw Doe's own brutal overthrow and death.
Right. It's incredibly sensitive history.
Hugely sensitive. So this reburial, it symbolizes a broader effort to finally, maybe, reconcile with that traumatic past. It sets a precedent, perhaps, for how Liberia might deal with other difficult figures or events from its conflicts. It's a very deliberate collective effort.
And pulling off an event like that, something so charged, it must have been incredibly complex logistically and politically.
Oh, absolutely. And the official sources, they do make a point of highlighting the work of the Reburial Committee. It was headed by the Minister of Education, Madam Jarso Marlijala.
Okay.
Mentioning that detail, I think, underscores the national significance.
Yeah.
It wasn't just thrown together. It required careful planning to manage such a loaded historical moment with the right level of solemnity and respect.
Okay, so beyond the main ceremony in Zwidru, President Boakai made another gesture, something described as almost like a pilgrimage.
Yes, that's right. The visit to Tuzon.
Tuzon, Doe's birthplace. What was the message there? Why was that so significant?
This was a deeply moving and culturally really significant moment. Before he left Grand Gedeh County, President Boakai made a point of going specifically to Tuzon, the ancestral home of Samuel K.
A pilgrimage-like stop, they called it.
And it really felt like that, because in many African cultures, acknowledging and honoring roots, ancestral lands, that's paramount. So for a sitting president to visit the birthplace of a former leader.
Especially this former leader, given the history.
Exactly. Especially one whose end was so traumatic for the nation, and particularly for that region. It's a powerful signal of respect, of reconciliation, not just with the Doe family, but with the entire region, Grand Gedeh, and its history.
And how was that received, that specific visit?
Apparently very positively. The sources say he was warmly welcomed by key Doe family members. His nephew, Senator Zoe Tenney, was there. His daughter, Sola Doe.
Ah.
Along with other relatives, community elders, traditional leaders. It was a significant gathering.
And did Soludo say anything?
Yes, she shared something quite powerful. She mentioned that she'd actually looked into it, and apparently no Liberian president had set foot in Tuzon since her father's death decades ago.
Wow, decades.
Yeah. So President Boakai's visit was this long-awaited acknowledgement. It filled a void, really, that had lasted for generations. It speaks volumes about trying to truly close a chapter.
Amidst all this focus on reconciliation and Doe's legacy, there was also this profound personal tragedy woven into the event, wasn't there? The burial of former First Lady Nancy Bohn Doe.
Yes. Her story adds another layer of, well, unexpected sorrow. It really amplified the emotional weight of the whole occasion.
What happened there?
The sources indicate that she passed away quite unexpectedly while she was actually preparing for her husband's reburial.
Oh, that's incredibly sad.
It is. And President Boakai noted that in his remarks. He said her sudden loss, quote, deepened the nation's sorrow, but also amplified the meaning of the moment. And in his eulogy for her, Boakai was quite thoughtful. He highlighted her strength, saying she stood firmly by President Doe's side, not as a figure eclipsed, but as a light of her own.
A light of her own, that's a nice way to put it.
Yeah. He emphasized her legacy as one of resilience, honor, and steadfast love. So her concurrent burial definitely made the whole event even more somber, a stark reminder of the very personal cost of that tumultuous period.
So bringing this all together and looking forward, how does President Boakai connect this historical event to Liberia's future? What's his vision, especially for the youth, to try and prevent past divisions from cropping up again?
Right, this is where the long-term vision really comes into focus. He made a very clear, direct appeal to the younger generation, many of whom didn't live through the Doe era or the worst of the Civil War.
Okay, what did he say to them?
He urged them, quite directly, to our youth, learn from the lessons of our history. Let unity, peace, and service to country be your guiding stars.
So a call to remember, but also to guide their actions.
Exactly. It's a crucial caution against repeating past mistakes. Especially vital in a nation with such a young population that has to grapple with this legacy of division, often without having directly experienced its causes.
It's not just about learning then, but actively building something different.
Precisely. And he paired that warning with a really crucial vision for a truly inclusive Liberia. He said, let us build a Liberia where no region is forgotten, no citizen is overlooked, and no past injustice is allowed to define our future.
That speaks directly to the historical tensions, doesn't it? Regional, ethnic.
It absolutely does. Yeah. So essentially this state funeral, this reburial, they're being presented as milestones in Liberia's journey of reconciliation and nation building.
That all stands.
Offering not just closure, perhaps, for the Doe family, but a national